guys, we are going to do a super fast V-Steg tonight, but the new Superman movie's out and the Steg is all over it. So if you need a hero in your life, stay tuned. Skullcap's coming back right after this. Give us a like, share the video. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Good to see you. We have missed you dearly, but so good to have you.
Yeah, I miss you too. It's been since the week before the Westwood event, I think.
Insane. Yes, insane. So let's jump right in because I know we don't have a lot of time and we always have so much to cover.
Yeah. Well, let's just say the time rituals. So everybody remembers probably the last threads that I was on when we were speaking on the show. Lisa and I are kind of tracking a summer-long event stream brought on by Steganography that's having us point in certain directions of ritual happening in our environment. And they're all based around what happened in the spring around the Hudson River area in New York. And if you recall back to those videos, we had the time rituals because 88 is everywhere, which signifies the analemma cycles of the moon and the sun, the two things that we track time by, the monthly, the calendar, and the daily calendar, right? So those things signify time in ritual sense. We caught on to something that Lisa had identified in a JFK Jr. ad when they were Timex is reviving his favorite watch, the Intrepid. And we caught on to a lot of key events happening around the Intrepid Museum there on Pier 88, right in the Hudson River where all this ritual is happening. So the comic book series that had us looking at kind of the date range of that, remember also, is this Wolverine series, the debut of the Wolverine that happened back in 1982. That ties it all together to present day when we have all of these Oz connotations coming out in the media, where Wolverine is put right smack in the middle of with the recent Deadpool affiliation, which was just an anagram, or you might say a facsimile of Oz and the reconstruction of that story. So a lot of the things that the V-Steg portends is what's behind the curtain of Oz, because it all has this inferencing layer built onto it that has you having to look at who's the controller manipulating behind the scenes. And that the end of time, Timex, the Intrepid on Pier 88, and just what Oz has to do with and fucking with, mind control aspects. And even Cliff is talking about right now in the WebBot language, the end of time. We're going to get into some of what that signifies here with some more comic steganography in the new Superman movie that released last week to help us maybe better understand what's going on beyond the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, because that's very clearly the stage show right now that's drawing a lot of attention away from
everything else. The fact that the Genius Act got passed through the House and is now headed to Trump's desk, which actually, although people are saying Epstein was a campaign promise, I do not believe that it was, although I do think children are very important. Obviously, I've dedicated my life to protecting them. And we have seen a lot of things happening really in a positive way with children. Tom Holman was just on in an interview saying more than 10,000 children have been saved recently from trafficking and rescued. They're still looking for almost 300,000 that Biden administration have let in through the borders that they're desperately looking for to save. But there have been some children, I guess, rescued, more than 10,000 that Tom.
Well, and at very least, we have evidence on the surface very recently, as recently as 2 days ago on the 15th in my neck of the woods in the Southwest. I was mentioning to you in the pre-show, we have a very targeted and orchestrated, coordinated in a coordinated fashion entrapment of illegal activity at taco shops, at other types of restaurants, like even like t-shirt shops, a lot of different stuff here in the Southwest. Just on the 15th in my local town, they shut down a barbecue joint that had 5 locations. They shut down a bunch of stuff in Nevada. They shut down a bunch of taco stands in LA. And the fact that it happened all on the same day, and that there's this continuing thread when you look into each one of the local stories that there's human trafficking contingent involved. Not only that, but money laundering.
And typically children doing
yes, and when you've gone into those restaurants, particularly young, like teenager variety kids, maybe trying to look older than they really are by caking on makeup or whatever, but they're still, probably.
Well, and not just restaurants. Like there, in California, there was one of Gavin Newsom's largest donors had a weed business, a huge, in those warehouses, and they were doing the trimming and whatever, and they had children working in those warehouses, and that was one of those large ICE raids as well. So
shit's happening in that capacity, and what are we to do other than look away, right? Because I think maybe it's not as an effective of an operation in that capacity if everyone's looking for it, that there is such a large distraction while they're doing that might actually aid the op to do the saving, because it isn't getting such wide publicity it's almost like you have to be in a category of, if you know, to defend against it, it seems, because it's just a, behind the scenes thing that, oh yeah, I did have a few businesses in my locality shut down that same day. I heard about that. It's just, it's this isolated, they've somehow made all of the news story trappings of it.
Well, I did watch a video, and this guy, the logic of it made a lot of sense, and they've all said from the beginning, there's only like a handful of people that actually know what's truly really going on. And if we're in this war, big PSYOP covered war, which I believe we are in an information war, then the little wees wouldn't know what was going on, because, like the media always asks Trump, oh, are you going to go bomb this country or that country tomorrow? And he's like, would I tell you that? That wouldn't be very smart, and but they said, we know that our country doesn't run on, these most powerful countries or people, leaders, do not run on money. They are controlled by blackmail. Well, if you are then in a position where you have control of that the evil, the darkness that was controlling this world, and I know I drink the hopium, guys, I'm with you. I know there's a possibility that it could be all the other way, but I'm going to tell you, like, what this one theory is, that if you were to then gain control of that mechanism that was controlling the world, you can have a perp walk of each individual, and that makes people feel really good. But the true darkness that was doing the controlling just pops out more bad guys, just has more, the control mechanism is still there. So if you're able to control the control mechanism and have it self-implode, that's when we talk about the Hillary files, Sidney Powell saying that the Hillary files on the Wiener laptop were called the golden files, and what she would do with them is get them to the most trusted person, and make sure that that was taken care of. That's what I believe. And I think that when we went in the Kraken, I think she did release the Kraken, and so that's part of this military op. I will tell you that I also saw an interview, and I will post it on my Patreon to make sure everybody has it. And I believe I put a clip of it in Telegram already, where Susie Wiles says that she's chief of staff for Trump. And she says, I'm in charge of, she didn't know what the West Wing, the powers in the West Wing, and that it's not based on laws, but protocol. And that It's the way things are done. And that,
well, it's because it's just an extension of the legal system, and the legal system is based in protocol also right now.
it's not the legal system. Those the laws. This is protocol. Like
I know, procedure and protocol. I'm just saying it's an extension of
protocol is like how kings and queens behave with each other and stuff. It's like more like common law, like the laws between lions.
Protocol specifically, like the general term. We'll just roll with it because I don't even have time to get down that rabbit hole right now.
But what she said was that she is in charge of the military office and the oh gosh, I'm just blanking on it. What's it called? Continuity of government. Mm-hmm. And she uses those exact words. And so if you think we're not in a cog right now.
What you're talking about here too is this is the art of war. I think it's probably backwards for everybody. It's chapter 13, the use of spies. And I'm gonna read it really quick.
Oh, okay.
It's not that long.
Here,
and then we'll move on to the next.
Then we'll move on to the Superman stag. Yeah.
But
anyway,
this is hopefully just it'll reflect to people that there's a possibility that what you're seeing is layered conversion of spies. Hostile armies may face each other for years, it says. I'm just going to start at section 2 because section 1 just glorifies Sun Tzu and how he is so great that he is able to work with manipulating spies, that kind of thing. But hostile armies may face each other for years, striving for the victory which is decided in a single day. This being so, to remain in ignorance of the enemy's condition simply because one grudges the outlay of 100 ounces of silver in honors of emoluments is the height of inhumanity. Which is just to say, if you're not at least paying attention to the possibility of the entire spectrum of what your enemy could do to you, then you're not being effective in the art of counterintelligence, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense to just like, oh, well, things are good. No one's going to attack us. It's basically what it's saying. One who acts thus is no leader of men, no present help to his sovereign, no master of victory. Thus, what enables the wise sovereign and the good general to strike and conquer and achieve things beyond the reach of ordinary men is foreknowledge. Now, this foreknowledge cannot be elicited from spirits, cannot be obtained inductively from experience, nor by any deductive calculation. Knowledge of the enemy's disposition can only be obtained from other men. Hence the use of spies, of whom there are 5 classes. 1, local. 2, inward. 3, converted. 4, doomed. And 5, surviving. When these 5 kinds of spy are all at work, none can discover the secret system. This is called divine manipulation of the threads. It is the sovereign's most precious faculty. So if you're the sovereign conducting the psyop, you have these 5 types of spies running distraction for you, right? Having local spies means employing the services of the inhabitants of a district, something that's enclosed, like we assign districts congressionally. Having inward spies, making use of the officials of the enemy. Having converted spies, getting hold of the enemy's spies and using them for your own purposes. Having doomed spies, doing certain things openly for purposes of deception and allowing our spies to know of them and report them to the enemy. They're like scapegoat moles. Mm-hmm. It's like we're just going to let that's actually what the story of Guy Fawkes is. The thing that VSTEG is based around is the Jesuits let him be discovered unknowingly to Guy Fawkes. Mm-hmm. He was part of the root. He was the scapegoat, but he was the doomed spy. All right. So surviving spies, finally, are those who bring back news from the enemy's camp. It goes on and it describes the decorum and dictates that spies need to have. It's a shorter section of the book. But the point is if you're not at least examining the probabilities of all levels of spying happening in the counterintelligence field right now in this very apparent war that we all acknowledge is going on, yet it's frustrating for me sometimes to see the expectation of things outside of the theater of it, but that's just all part of it. It's all part of getting everybody softened to the beyond the pale, to the defining moment of revealing what's behind the curtain, because everybody's minds have to be softened a little bit in order for them to comprehend it, you know.
To get them to engage, I guess.
Maybe this is just a possibility. It's just speculation at this point. But
yeah,
even my insertion of the whole spying, how they're employed in any psyop, just from the art of war itself, is I'm just giving people food for thought for how many layers of shit's going on. And then the distraction campaigns with conspiracies. Right. You have the classic tripart system of the bunk conspiracy, which is really what you learn in school and shit. The main narrative conspiracy. The main narrative conspiracy is what you learn in school. The bunk conspiracy is like flat earth. You know, and then the counter narrative, which is usually the truth, is never spoken of, like the expanding earth, like we were talking about before the show, right? So the version of it in school is a magma core. False. That's what everybody thinks. But the bunk conspiracy is the flat earth. It's the distraction, and there's definitely a lot of money psyop wise put into advertising that narrative, getting into people's heads. You know, there's a psyop involved with getting a certain amount of the population to believe in the bunk conspiracy so that no one ever explores the third option, which is the counter narrative, the truth, the expanding earth.
Yeah, we were discussing the earthquake in Juneau yesterday, 7.3 off because they did a tsunami warning, but then it didn't actually come to fruition. And I was watching this space weather channel, and they were saying because the plates moved this way instead of causing an
which they always do, by the way. It's the only way plates can move. Subduction zones are a lie. Subduction zones are a lie, everyone. The earth expands away from it. All of the plates expand away from each other at every single point that they touch each other.
There we go. So we only have a couple more minutes. Let's jump into Superman, the movie. The new movie came out, and the new logo for the new Superman movie, if you guys look at this strange S. And on his...
And you can see the one right there, right in the middle, which is the typical one.
This is
just to compare it against.
Yeah, a little more typical, a softer S, and a fuller, full S is a little more typical, like the old S. Like this was the old S, you know, like a full S. And this, they've kind of cut it off and made it almost like a Z or a reverse Z, maybe backward Z. I don't know. Maybe that's a little Z steg there.
Very much angular. More, it's got hard edges and and it almost looks like a 3D object you can turn around. I was playing around with that a little bit too, but we won't get
also
into that.
Kind of like the Wizard of Oz road. It looks very much like that on the cover of the Wizard of Oz road. And then we were going to share this tab. This is where you said that S on the new movie points to this DC comic.
Specifically, this is the steganography embedded in the movie. So to give everybody another refresher.
Remember when Trump stood, I'm sorry for interrupting. Remember when Trump stood at that table and pushed those buttons and turned this thing on?
Yeah. Yeah. We can bring that up too. That could be part of it.
Thing? I don't remember what that thing was.
I don't either, but I know the imagery that you're talking about.
Okay. Sorry. Distraction.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead and go on. Part of this. We'll bring it up after I explain this. So as everyone knows, the V-Steg points to things that, you know, are commandeering your senses to make you, in popular media, infer certain things a certain way. There's a lot of it embedded in the ritual casting of the event stream as it's going on. There's a lot of Jewish ritual magic in a lot of the comic books, for instance, that you find, because it these key moments in time, like Lisa just showed, the S in the movie of the Superman that came out on July 11th, that's a prescient moment in today's world where they revived that logo for some reason that they've never used in the DC comic book universe in any other instance other than this 4-comic series run called Kingdom Come, which was a comic book series that came out in 1996. And the premise of this comic book series specifically, and you see the iconography of Superman there with that specific S that's being used in the movie that came out July 11th, is that he is trying to save the world again from degenerating into what the new generation of superheroes, almost like Gen Z, you can think of it as, has their brand of justice is kind of ruthless. It's gotten into the point where the world is merciless in its seeking of vengeance. And it's just kind of like, you know, it's gone off the deep end in the other direction in a bad way, where maybe today we could say like, well, just kill them all. Just hang all the people involved, right? There's a lot of that kind of energy, in fact, in the United States today, where everyone released the Epstein files. There's a lot of it. Right. And that's the characterization of the populace in the DC world that's constructed here, which is set in the future, where after a certain point in time, there's a rift in the way things are handled because a nuke goes off in the middle of the United States that causes Superman to retire. Nuke kills millions of people, and it happens in the state of Kansas. Right in the middle of Oz. And as you see in this photo, this is the Green Lantern Corps headquarters, but it's very much an Emerald City of Oz kind of iconographic moment where Superman is cast in this story as very much the character of Oz, who kind of goes back behind the scenes after the cataclysmic moment where there's a single survivor. Now, this is where it gets a little bit weird with where the steganography is pointing to, because you obviously see the Oz beats that we always point to when VSTEG is present. Oddly enough, this is a multiverse, or an alternative version of the DC universe, as they would call it, and they call it Earth version 22. People know probably by now V for the VSteganography is the 22nd letter in the alphabet. So when these VSTEG responsive stories get cast into the event stream in the popular media, it's usually a signifier when it happens at this regular occurrence rate. So Earth 22 is the reality structure that this story is playing out in. Batman's in this story too. We don't need to get into Batman. We're mostly focusing on the iconography of Superman and actually what's embedded within the Kingdom Come story and what it conveys in ancient Jewish lore as it relates to the end of time. Because there's actually a tale in the Bible and obviously in Jewish literature, the story of Gog and Magog and the end of time. And those two characters, oddly enough, Gog and Magog, are manifest for the first time ever. DC had never put them into a character arc before this series, this 4-episode or 4-issue series. But there's a character called Gog and a character called Magog that appear in this Kingdom Come story. Okay. So before we go any further with that, Lisa, I sent you those links in the order that we should look at them.
You want me to just do them in order?
Yeah. The one that starts with the logos right at the top.
Okay.
Logos.com.
Yes. Oh, I shut my thing off. Sorry about that. Okay. Here we go.
So the story of Gog and Magog is this story that plays out in Ezekiel and is forecast into Revelation. And what it boils down to is a character of Gog in the land of Magog. So Gog is this mythical character, and Magog is like the fertile lands that Gog has dominion over. And as part of the prophecy in Ezekiel, you can actually see it right there. Early in the chapter, Ezekiel indicates Gog and Magog will drag many other nations into a devastating battle against the kings of the south. And they're battling against the kings of the north. And these are actually El. This is a story about battling Elohim tribes. So the Jews were the tribe of Yahweh, and then to the north you had the tribes of Baal, and this is actually where some of the delineation with the Canaanites comes in, and we don't need to get into this, but there's this ancient connotation with battling space aliens and the story of Gog and Magog and what it portends in the structure of when it would be recreated in the scripture of what we're living out today as a signifier of literally the end of time. The end of time would be the reveal of all the histrionics, of all of the things that were hidden from us, right? So go to the next one, the jewishlearning.com article, and you can kind of read through this one. So like, let's just like read through this one really quick, because it's a nice like Cliff Notes version of how you might characterize it. So it says, Gog and Magog refers to the enemies against whom God will wage an apocalyptic war at the dawn of the Messianic age, the coming of the Messiah, the Savior, right? The wars of Gog and Magog have come to be understood as essential to the Jewish eschatological vision of the end of days, a final battle between good and evil that will usher in a period of eternal peace. So they say, because they're the chosen ones and stuff, remember? So the origin of this belief lie in the prophecy of Ezekiel, who identifies Gog as a prince and his land as Magog. The only earlier biblical reference to Magog is in Genesis, which identifies Magog, the land, as one of the descendants of Japheth, the son of Noah, which means, is this a piece of land that was given to Japheth, the son of Noah? Because Noah also interfaced with the Elohim. His grandfather, Enoch, also interfaced with the Elohim. He was one of these varieties of dudes that would take counsel with them. So there's a lineage there, maybe, with some of the story. So according to the prophecy contained in the 38th, 39th chapter of the book of Ezekiel, on a distant day when the Jewish people are living securely in Israel. Today we have that, presumably. Gog will invade Israel, and God will furiously retaliate against them, the Israelites. The invaders will be destroyed, and the Jews will spend months burying the dead. Repeatedly, God declares that through the battle, the nations shall know that I, the Lord, am holy in Israel. Remember, this is Yahweh's words in the Old Testament. Take that with a grain of salt. That's, but anyway, in its wake, Ezekiel promises the restoration of the descendants of Jacob. The Jewish exiles will be gathered back to their land, and never again will God's face be hidden from the Jewish people. The wars of Gog and Magog, as prophecy came to be referred, the later sources are part of a larger belief that the Messianic age will be preceded by a period of great suffering and upheaval, the so-called birth pangs of the Messiah, the end of time. But in general, belief in the Messianic age, while clearly part of Jewish belief and tradition, are not discussed greatly in ancient rabbinic sources. So you can stop there. We don't need to go any further than this. You can see the structure of the themes of what's happening here, right? So we have the weird decision for DC and the production company and the director and everything to include the Kingdom Come S in the new story. The new storyline, by the way, is very much
very woke.
Well, it probably is, but I hear it's also kind of in the vein of like the hero's journey, where Superman has to fight himself. Ultraman is a clone of Superman that Lex Luthor makes, and it's almost like Luke Skywalker's battle against the Darth Vader that is his father, kind of a shit, It's like a hero's journey classic kind of a thing. But I don't know if the plot of the movie has very much to do with what the steganography is conveying, because again, like Lisa was saying, this was Lisa's insight, guys. I wasn't even really prompted to look into Superman too much, but she was like pinging it for several weeks. Like, oh, look, another Superman thing. And the S specifically points to Kingdom Come, which there's a nuke that's left in the middle of Kansas, like I said. And guess who's behind? A sole survivor. And that survivor is named Gog. And Gog becomes the ruin of the belief system of everything, because Gog starts a church in devotion of Superman. And this is the comic book. This is Kingdom Come. And so Gog starts to heal the land. There's another character, Magog, that comes out of this that kills the Joker and kills basically any part of the old world's kind of framing of insanity, because kind of what the Joker represents in the DC comic. There's a bunch of other stuff where the Joker had killed Lois Lane earlier on in the comic, and you got to go read it to understand a lot of these beats. But really what we're focusing on is the inclusion of Gog and Magog. So what's interesting also, if you go click on
one of our next.
Click on, the one that says Neo Encyclopedia with Kingdom Come. And then
okay.
The
Superman
one after that.
Kingdom Come?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And scroll down to the part where it says it's describing his like
energy X-rays.
Yeah, this is all his like synopsis. Scroll down to the Kingdom Come portion of it.
Oh, okay.
Oh
wow.
Maybe did it even go past it?
He had been kryptonite, green kryptonite.
No, this isn't the right page.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. Get Parasite. Get the one that says Parasite up. The one underneath it.
Okay. Here we go.
All right. So Parasite, this is a character also. And these, I'm fast forwarding through these beats only to share with you kind of the high level view of how Gog and Magog as an end of time storyline in the Jewish sorcery lore of the biblical text and, you know, the Judeo-Christian sense of Revelation, Ezekiel, Elohim involvement with the Judaic people of the ancient past that Yahweh had dominion over. We have things like this, Parasite, which is a character that also just makes his way in and sucks the life force out of any superhero that he touches, kind of a thing. And he kills a character called Captain Atom, which creates a big atom bomb explosion. So that's what causes this big explosion in Kansas. Is this character Parasite sucks all of the atomic energy out of Captain Atom and he blows up. And that's what leaves behind Gog, the one remaining survivor of this explosion. And Parasite, again, is not one of these common characters. You have these very uncommon characters showing up in this Earth 22 very short episode, or, you know, issue run of the comic book series Kingdom Come, where you've got parasites causing explosions, nuclear explosions, to blow up Kansas, what signifies Oz, to really kind of tear a rift, as it were, in what we knew to be real, because that's what Oz signifies. In the V-Steg lore is the mind control layer. So if you can imagine, in the wake of a big kind of a nuke that causes a rift in the mind control of the masses, you have the final battle that's rising out of this Gog and Magog storyline. And Kingdom Come, in the storyline, guess what? There's one town in Kansas that's spared, the town of Keystone. And Keystone is really, really important with the V-Steg. If you look back to my other work, Lisa, from a long time ago, because the Keystone
during the vote
is the thing. Yeah, and the Keystone State being Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of this Keystone ritual where it's pulling out the last thing, but the Keystone stays intact and everything else falls out around it, which kind of still indicates this controlled destruction toward what? Revealing the Israeli mistake, the people of Gog, and the people that Gog is defending the land of Magog on behalf of. This final big battle, you see? So this is what I'm suggesting, everyone, with the V-Steg inferencing, is that the movie itself on July 11th is a signifier, but with its inclusion of the S, that behind the scenes, or maybe very, very publicly very soon, something equivalent to the mind control of Oz breaking apart is going to happen with us. There were 3 missiles or 3 bombs that were sent in addition to what happened with Captain Atom that were thwarted. And so Lisa was even wondering in the pre-show, and I was summarizing this, did those 3 bombs mean something? Are we going to see 3 bombs that we think are going to be kind of nuclear type explosions, but they just fizzle out? Maybe. If they're following the storyline of Kingdom Come with their broadcast of this theater, which that's kind of what my argument's always been, is when I catch these threads, I'm just finding the script to the theater that's playing out behind the scenes when I find it all. So there you go. That's that.
How many boosters there were? How many boosters were there? Were there 3 boosters or more boosters than 3?
Oh, I think there are probably more than that officially at the end of the day.
3 companies that made them?
I think, yeah, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and Moderna were the 3. Yeah.
three companies.
Yeah.
Because I just had a friend over and he's been doing these hyperbaric chambers, and he was explaining to me about like the science behind it and how they treat people that get bends or whatever, like if you go underwater or whatever, how you have to be careful of, because otherwise if you come up too fast, it separates can't remember.
The nitrogen enriches in your blood too quickly.
Nitrogen in your body. And I'm thinking about atom bombs, like I've heard this atom thing before of like some people believe that when the Bible was talking about Adam, they were actually talking about an atom.
Or at very least in Marbuglino's work, the Adamites, which was, it was like a phenotype of a whole type of people that was trying to be genetically engineered by the Elohim.
Right. Oh, well, I'm kind of going the other direction where I'm wondering if, we're seeing this turbo cancer everywhere. Are they
that's what I interpret from it myself, is that the parasite that blows up the atomic system of the person. Yeah. That's how I'm
thinking. A mass die off from the 3 bombs because of the parasite.
You might have interpreted the 3 bombs correctly in that context, because I'm already with you on what I think the parasite aspect of the Kingdom Come story signifies, and it's the nuke potentially of the mass die off. It kills a couple million people, this nuke.
I mean, I just heard Ben Askren has like terrible lung cancer, and he did a video saying like, look, I've been healthy my whole life. I'm not a smoker. Like all of a sudden he's like withering away to nothing. And I don't know his health choices or anything. I'm not making any accusations, but all of a sudden this term died suddenly is everywhere,
Yeah. And it's connected somehow now to this Gog and Magog Israeli mistake, unveiling everything we're talking about the ending of the trafficking. There's trafficking in this story. It's part of the earlier part where the Joker is involved with, a human trafficking outfit. And Magog kills him. Magog is let off in trial because the jury sympathizes with Magog. It's a turning point with humanity when they stop ruling on justice and they start ruling on feeling. Oh, he deserves to die anyway. It's good riddance. Kill the Joker, kind of a thing.
Well, so right now there is a trial for Roman Storm about the Tor network or whatever.
Yeah.
And they are planning on bringing people in who got scammed. But it's like they're blaming, it's like, suing the knife company for somebody getting stabbed instead of putting the person that stabbed somebody in jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the strategy. So that's exactly what you're talking about is happening right now.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of key things going on to shake up the way the court systems are probably going. Are we going to have a court system for a while we figure it all out? I mean, there is no justice with the P. Diddy stuff either, obviously, for instance. It's just like, what? There's a clear demarcation in the Kingdom Come storyline of when the court system fails. There is no more court because the jury now rules in favor of the vigilante. Whether the vigilante was totally justified in the acts of doing something, the whole world degrades into vigilante justice in a way that isn't principled like Batman does it. Batman does the whole, Batman the vigilante. Batman has this whole set of like samurai-like principles that he lives by. And he, principally among them, he actually doesn't ever kill. That's one of his dictates.
But like I was talking with a friend of mine who's very high in the court system about a situation, and he said, you know, the judges are not there. They're there to interpret the law, but they're not there to punish somebody or make someone a winner and someone a loser. They're there to make sure that that it's difficult for both sides and that you work it out. And I was like,
they're agents of equity in the day of common law. They're agents of equity.
Just a negotiation. And if that's true in the Diddy case as well, then did he make a deal? And are there others that probably don't sleep very well anymore if they aren't already being picked up or weren't? You know, right after that Diddy thing, we watched on July 4th, you know, I don't know if it was 16 or 12, a bunch of high ranking, I mean, we're talking judges, a mayor, the head of the Texas Democrat Party get arrested, straight up arrested, July 4th. The same day of the, you know, big flood in Kerrville.
Another very coordinated, let's say, action.
So just because you don't see, you know, the arrests of all the pedos at Diddy's trial doesn't mean that that didn't happen. The two things are not mutually exclusive, you know?
Well, like I said, this is the part of the story, I think, because what brings this all around to the op is you and I then, we also went back and forth when Trump posted a picture of him the day before the movie came out with his face AI generated on the poster for Superman. So underneath all of it, underneath everything we just said about the storyline of Kingdom Come, Trump posted on Truth Social, and I think it was like truth, justice, and the American way, or whatever the poster said. I think that's kind of what it said, something like that. And just that he put his face on the movie, not affiliated with the promotionship of the movie at all, just simply placed it there on his Truth Social account, is indicative of the connection with the Steg thread, the V-Steg thread specifically. And if we're reading this correctly, what I think is happening is that they don't want the country to degrade like it did in the Kingdom Come storyline into vigilante justice run amok. Because then we have a situation that is untenable. And so there's a specific way that they might be doing things that might not make sense at some level to people, but if you read the Steg, you can maybe interpret for yourself, oh, I see a possibility of what might be going on. And that's my only suggestion. I'm not arguing for it outrightly, but I am saying that what I read with the Steg is usually pretty close to how it does end up characterizing in reality. And so to avoid the Gog and Magog chaos like the Jews want, there could be a counterattack from our end using the counter spy network. Like I just said, all the 5 different kinds of spies, the doomed spies, the converted spies, the local, all the different kinds of spying that you can employ. We could do an entire podcast series on how that could be employed. But this is beyond, people say 5D chess, but like, it's not that, like, it might be, if that's how you want to characterize really well done strategic military grade approaches to psyops, if that's what you want to call it, fine. I have more respect for it than like cheapen it and call it something as chintzy as 5D chess, honestly, because this is sophisticated. There's sorcery involved because of all the glyphs. This is spell casting at its highest level.
Spell casting is a true thing. Now, remember that they've been using spell casting for years and then shaming people for it, making fun of people, talking down about Vedic astrologers, any astrologers, tarot readers, whatever. But
all the divination arts,
they use the numbers, they use the magic, and then shame people for it, all of that. And so, of course, you have to take that all with a grain of salt, and see what it is. And
It also doesn't mean that, as Trump saying, Trump isn't fucking up. He's fucking up on purpose, though.
Maybe.
Because, again, to get all of your attention over here, that, it's like the woman in the red dress situation from The Matrix. When you look away, and then, you look forward and there's a gun pointing in your face. Training the public for their own safety to maybe turn their attention. Not everybody can handle all this shit all at once. So there's a rollout, I suspect, because of
the horrors of the small amount that I've heard about what they've done with children. It's horrifying. And there are some people, friends of mine, that are like, no, I refuse to look. I refuse to hear about it. I don't think it will help that I know about it. I don't want to know about it. And I mean, there's every spectrum of, I refuse to even look into it, to, to people that, pursue it and want to be involved, to helping prevent it, all of that. And so I think to save the children, if that's what it takes, then, then sometimes you have to be playing the game, and I can't imagine what it would take.
Consider what I was just said. Like, Pam Bondi, think about what you want. I think she's a piece of shit myself, but is she just a Mossad spy that's being used?
But can she now be controlled?
Well, right. Whether she knows she can be controlled or not. This is the whole game of the spying. Is if the master general that has the superior spying will slowly convert its enemy into the fold of its own dictates without it even recognizing it happened. Kind of a thing. And all of a sudden you're an unknown or an unwitting is what you'd be, an unwitting converted spy. Which,
well, I think that's that moment that Sean Ryan had, where he said, he was sitting there with Tucker in the interview, and he said, I'm doing this interview with this guy, and then all of a sudden gets to the end and he starts saying something that doesn't really go along with everything. And I'm like, what just happened here? And am I being used in a way, or is my platform being compromised or used as part of the whatever? And Tucker goes, yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing actually right now. So I kind of think that, and this is my opinion, I have a lot of respect for Sean Ryan, but I think he jumped himself out of a bad situation. I think he might have found himself, not purposefully, but maybe in some dark stuff, and got himself out. That's just my personal
could be
suspicion, theory, nothing confirmed, but anyway.
Okay.
Well, I hate to cut this one short on everybody, but I do have to go to an appointment that I have. So
yes,
I got to get out.
My phone's on airplane, but Siri just kicked on. That's very weird.
But there's your re-entry into VSTEG land. We still have the summer long August 29th being the end date of or I guess August 30th of our end date of our Wolverine saga, which is still playing out. I've got some notes on that to share again sometime soon also, but for this one, just to share with everybody the prescience of the Superman thing.
Yeah, glad to have you back. Glad to do the Superman VSTEG. We will get back on schedule and do a regular show on Thursdays. Johnny was unable to join me last night. He's going to try to jump in tonight later if he can. We'll see how the evening goes. I wanted to discuss the Genius bill passing the House and the fact that there's a back door for that little CBDC. And we'll see if Trump will keep his campaign promise. That really was a promise to not allow that. So we're going to see where the rubber hits the road on that. All right, you guys take care. Thank you all for joining us in the live chat. We're forever grateful for your support and your encouragement and all of your comments. Tom is doing well. Everybody, just an update on our friend Tom that was in the Kerrville floods. You can go to our Telegram group. that's listed in the description of this video, and one of the pinned comments at the top, I believe it's the most recent pinned comment, is Tom's Litecoin address if you would like to help him out. He was not able to be fully made whole from his insurance. So if you find it in your heart to help him out, you can sure do that. He's a great guy. You guys take care. Have a great day, and we will see you for sure tomorrow on Happy Hour. Take care.